when it all washes out. And Graves is going to be the first ban here from Legacy.
Yeah, so to aid to that point a little bit further, we're looking at Tally trying to really get ahead for his team and continue to snowball top lane away from Sharp, whereas on the flip side, Direwolves, they need Raze and Kuden to get going to make King and Regret have a, let's just say, a very rough time in that bottom lane and do the converse for Direwolves.
We'll see whether they can, as Gangplank is going to be banned away by the Direwolves. Poppy and Corki have already left the Rift. Definitely some big names still on the board. Kallista's coming to mind, things like that. Direwolves are going to take away the Trundle. Lulu's up, guys.
Yeah, Lulu's available. Lissandra as well as the other flex that Legacy have always got amongst them. I think Graves in particular, if we're looking at the bans, is the standout confusing one. Because sure, Carbon can play it. It definitely means that it's a flex with Tally as well, playing Graves in 2 lanes. It gives them a lot of versatility with their drafting. And to me, that looks like what Direwolves are attacking, a lot of their versatility.
Exactly that. They did take Corki away as... Legacy did take Corki away as well, so that's a big ban coming towards Fantix. Strong champion, but Fantix has played that quite a lot this split. And Braum's going to be the final ban from Legacy too, so take away that powerhouse support.
Braum is an interesting one. So Kuden actually has a preference towards the Braum opposed to Alistar when the tanky champions of the 2 dynamic duo supports are available. It could mean that by banning Braum, they preference Alistar with the first pick, but with all of the junglers still available, who knows what direction they'll go. Is Nidalee the standout? Perhaps Kindred instead.
Well, Raze also plays a pretty fantastic Callista as well, which is available, but Sivir, another champion that has definitely been skyrocketing into popularity. It is going to be locked away, and Raze, that's actually feels like a pick away from King if we're going back into the history books.
Yeah, skyrocketing in favor, it absolutely is, but yes, King, the Sivir player essentially of the OPL right now. He jumped on that bandwagon quick. And there's the quick response.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of quick, the Alistar, the Gragas both locked in instantly by Legacy.
Alistar, again, Braum being banned, Alistar being picked up is a smart decision here. So Legacy's AD carry doesn't need to be as important, but Sivir's also got the ability to spell shield the entire Alistar combo, which means you have to get creative if you were Legacy.
I honestly thought that one of these 2 picks from Legacy would have been Direwolves' first pick, but the Sivir pickup still a very, very strong AD carry. Would like to see what they round out with their next 2 picks as well. Nidalee's still available. Kindred if they want to play that champion, but we haven't seen too much of that
Sybil's
just yet.
Elise is up as well. I mean, I don't think he really cares about the jungle pool right now just because it hasn't been touched. And Sybil, we know, has, when he's on comfort, which there is quite a lot of, Spawn alluded to it on the desk, he's very, very comfortable, so not too worried.
Direwolves may just finish their bot lane here and pick the potential top laner with it so that they don't reveal too much with their strategy. Or they could just reveal a lot with 1 pick, who knows?
Whoa, okay.
I like it. I think Karma, if that is a support, is ridiculously oppressive with a Sivir.
That is a very fast team as well. They all want to run quick.
That is very true. Choo-Choo's, though, going to waste no time. Locks in the Azir. Maybe expecting that Lulu in the mid lane. We know that Fantix, of course, plays a few things, and King, he's going to get the Callista. That is a terrifying bottom lane.
I will say, it's not usually Fantix that is the Lulu player, of course, entirely capable and a very strong Lulu player, but Sharp is usually the one who gets the brunt of, I guess, like, you have to have the Lulu, or the team has to have the Lulu, you just take it. Always possible that they flex it.
Legacy have got some strong powerhouse picks in this draft so far. All these champions can be first picks in the current meta. Maybe not Azir too much, but strong champion pickups, and it looks like they're leaving their final pickup for Tally up in the top lane.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense.
Standard Legacy, right?
Absolutely. Give their top laner the last pick. Makes sense because they want to have the top laner win a 1v1. Basically, Legacy, they like the standard lanes. I think having the Callista as well in their second rotation on red side shows the preferences the Direwolves had, but also smart drafting by Legacy. Don't need to pick it up early.
Oh my goodness. Oh. Okay. Oh,
Took him a
I
while.
got so excited. Thought it was going to be a Maokai jungle, but it is going to be the Kindred for Sybil. There is Maokai going to be picked up for Sharp. Of course, back to an old favorite in the tree, just wants to tank it up there on the top side of the map, and pretty safe considering the fact that they don't quite know what's heading towards that top lane.
Yeah, Direwolves in a way kicking it old school with the team comp strategy at the very least. 2 of their picks, Sivir and Maokai, standouts in that regard. Lulu as well, always been relevant, as Legacy have rounded it out.
Yeah, Direwolves, they have
Echo
so many
top?
ways to keep you alive, but yeah, Echo.
Oh my goodness, no, it'll be Gragas top, right?
And Echo jungle?
Oh,
Yeah.
Give it a second.
Oh, I'm excited about either. Of course, Tally, it feels like an Echo play
He
to me.
definitely is. So Echo in the top lane is, well, it's obviously interesting. It's unusual to say the least, but it's got a lot of damage in the way of dealing with health Of course, you got the 3 stacks, much like a Vayne does. You do a lot of bonus damage. It's very hard to kill an Echo who can rush magic resistance as well. Abyssal Scepter, a very good item on the champion. It's got a lot of unique perks as well if he recalls and uses the ult back to lane if he's looking to just continue split pushing.
From the looks of things, Legacy have a lot of ways to displace the Direwolves here. A lot of crowd control, a lot of ways to displace you, move you around in a team fight. Direwolves, on the other hand, tons of ways to just run at you and keep everybody in their team alive. AoE shield from Karma, Lulu keeping people alive, Lambs the Spike giving you that last bit of heal as well, Maokai reducing damage. These two teams have a really, really big strategy in their team comps.
Yeah, they absolutely do. I think Legacy, though, on the flip side, they've actually met Direwolves' strength. I think they've actually combated their strength with skirmishing prowess in their champion picks as well. So Gragas, Echo, zone control champions, very strong 2v2. Azir as well, very good with the zone control. Emperor's Divide. Pretty safe, I will say, in the mid lane. If Gragas is there, think about the distance you can cover with an explosive cask and an Emperor's Divide. They'll be under your turret in a heartbeat. I think Legacy in 2v2s in every single scenario on this map have actually matched Direwolves and said, well, we're just going to beat you at your own game.
Well, we'll see whether they're going to be able to. But ladies and gentlemen, we want to hear from you. Use that hashtag DWWin if you think that the Direwolves are going to be able to take this series, of course, siding with Spawn on the desk there, or use the hashtag LegacyWin if you think that Pastry Time and Froscarin are onto something with their predictions. Of course, let us know exactly what you think. Use that hashtag IamOPL as well, because, man, I'm very excited to get into this game, but I have a feeling it's all about how they play in this environment. And the man in the middle that you can see on your screen right now, if I was a Direwolves fan, I'd be very, very scared of, because him at a live event, Carbon, just terrifying.
Yeah, I thought you meant choo-choos for a second. I was like, he's not in the middle. You just double entendre the heck out of me. Yes, I think that Carbon is the man to look out for right now. Legacy, you said it yourself, when it comes to a live event, goes above and beyond, and that's because he feels the emotions. And having a conversation with Legacy before this game as well, they were saying Carbon feels content. And that, to me, is a scary Carbon, because that means he is happy and he is excited and ready to go. He's
definitely experienced in the offline environment, and he is a strong captain of the team as well, you could say. He's been leading them to numerous victories in this split of the OPL, and he looks like he's ready to get another one for his team.
Yeah. Exactly, 9-1. I mean, they haven't lost to the Direwolves as of yet this split, but of course the record in playoffs has actually been very, very similar against these two teams over the last couple of years. So it'll be very exciting to see whether the Direwolves are going to be able to step up in the playoffs, because they're going to have to. Based on their record so far and what they've actually been doing in the last few weeks of the OPL, they need to up that game. But by the sounds of things, scrimming against the Chiefs a lot, that's sort of been sort of the, I guess, practice pairings that they've gone off with, the top 4 teams now just pairing up with whoever they're not going against in the semifinals. We'll see whether that's helped their strategic play as we move into this one. How do you feel about it?
I think we've sort of had the 2v2 when we came into the top 4. It's like teams that aren't playing each other, like, oh, we're going to group together and try and beat the opposition, not reveal any strategies. And just to quickly bring that back to your original point as well, looking back historically at the playoffs between Direwolves and Legacy, and even including regular splits, I think Legacy are a total of 2 wins ahead, and that is only through 2 regular split games. So split 1 playoffs, 3-1 Direwolves. Split 2, 3-1 Legacy. This is actually effectively a 1-1 between these teams, playing each other in the semi-finals, which happens every time.
Certainly does. Of course, King now on the other side of the matchup, which is very, very exciting for that bottom lane, because we've mentioned sort of top-heavy, bottom-heavy, but we're calling the Direwolves heavy on the bottom side. King, I could imagine, would not actually like that. This man has a lot to prove now on the Rift, and we'll see whether he's going to be able to step up his game, because he hasn't necessarily been as aggressive as when he was playing for the Direwolves.
King is kind of like a minion farmer more than he is a champion killer, opposed to Raze on the flip side. So yes, I think the onus is a lot on Direwolves to get things done based off the play styles of the team's players.
Well, speaking of getting things done, we are on to Summoner's Rift, ladies and gentlemen. Direwolves will be on our blue side as we step out. Legacy going to be taking the red. And look, the top lane matchup, one that we have already spoken about, Echo versus the Maokai. Very exciting. We'll see whether we actually get standard lanes.
I mean, surprisingly, we have seen a lot of Echo in this OPL split, but not so much in the top lane, I could say, as Tally is going to be pulling that one out. But we'll have to see what happens between these two teams as we start off this game. So far, no tricky antics, just it looks like Legacy going to be grouping up.
The first thing that I've noticed, though, is Fantix is on Lulu. Not necessarily your carry-based champion in there in the mid lane, and I want to see how he plays it, because it's been a while since we've seen him on the Lulu. And we know players that can make the Lulu seem like an assassin.
Direwolves are the closest team that we have in the OPL to the LPL.
Yeah.
And solely because what that means is they play champions like Ezreal and Lulu, but they play them like they can kill everyone on the map and outplay them 1v1. They use spells aggressively every single time. So like Lulu, as an example, has E for a shield or for damage. Choose it for damage. Just get more on them. Hurt
Yeah,
them.
damn right. Help picks. Help me kill the opponent by other means. But the Keystone Masteries are now on your screen. There's nothing that really stands out to me. Anyone have anything that they've noticed?
No, nothing outrageous. Karma, in particular, I guess, with a Wind Speaker's Blessing from the looks of it, is a curious thing. But it increases self-healing by 10%.
Oh my goodness, Tally got it. That is massive, as we did have Direwolves come through and try and deny the top Krug camp.
And to add insult to injury, they don't even get the small one. Goodness. So Tally already coming up big for his team.
Well, I mean, that's just coming up standard, right? Really, but saving himself from what could have been a horrible situation.
We did see Regret9 try to do the same thing by invading the jungle. Both these supports giving the junglers and the top laners a little bit of a hard time, as Kuda's going to be poking around with that Karma. And speaking of the early start to the game too, we have a lane spot coming into this game. Direwolves are going to be sending their AD carry and their support up into the top lane. Legacy going to have King and Regret9 down in the bottom lane, as you would normally see. And they're all going to be pushing out to the turret as fast as possible, as Fantix and Choo Choos just want to fight each other back and forth.
Yeah, and we spoke about the teams playing against each other, the top 4 in separate 2v2s. Well, the Chiefs were who Direwolves played against, and the Chiefs love a cheeky lane swap pretty much every single game. So no surprises, the Direwolves, after their practice, their boot camp before this game, have actually decided to lane swap themselves.
Yeah, and I actually really like this, because we mentioned the fact that both of these sides are a little bit top and bottom heavy. So maybe avoiding that early stage of the game could actually shore up some of those weaknesses. And they can move into that skirmish phase that both of these teams very much like.
Yep, so both teams still working on taking down the outer turrets. Look at this Sybil coming into mid lane, getting an early gank on the Choo Choos. He is dead. First blood will go on over to Fantix.
So that was a very early rotation from Sybil. It was unexpected by Choose, to say the least, but Choose was putting a lot of emphasis on actually killing Fantix, opposed to just staying safe in the lane. So it's a pretty easy pickup based off his positioning on the map, but again, Choose, he should have known that Sybil was topside and played towards the bottom side of his lane. Instead, easy and early first blood picked up by Fantix.
Yeah, and that is very, very scary. Even if he is on the utility-based champion in the Lulu, just going to teleport back into lane. And actually has himself a rejuve bead, as well as the cup.
I hope you're not asking me a question from that.
I'm not going to.
I haven't got the slightest.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, is that a Mikhail's rush? I don't even know what Mikhail's builds out of, and whether that's at all relevant.
No, it doesn't build out of a rejuve bead.
Titanic Hydra Lulu, pretty standard.
Let's touch back in a couple minutes, shall we?
Yeah.
I'm having a mind blank.
Yeah. It's interesting. Maybe just wants the extra health regen. Understands that, you know,
Well, that used
after a
to
little
be,
while,
like,
after
also,
Radier just very, very long way away, using the Jhin, making sure that he can utilize that range, was able to make it work very, very well. And we'll see whether it is going to be Choo Choos being able to operate this Azir in exactly the same way. And we've seen it already in the OPL, and he was very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely was. And I guess all of these questions not too far away from being answered now. We just need to get through the lane swap aspect.
Yeah, of course. The pause now done, ladies and gentlemen, as we are going to get back into the game. 600 gold is the lead here for the Direwolves. And Sybil going to find his way towards the bottom side of the map, adding a fair bit of turret damage now with that recurve bow.
Both these two teams still opting to swap out the lanes. They already took down the top outer turret for the Direwolves. Now they're going back down into the bottom lane, trying to take the bottom lane outer turret. And it's still incredibly isolated in the mid lane between Choo Choos and Fantix. Bottom lane tower will finally go down for the Direwolves as the 4-man push is still going to keep moving up towards that inner turret. Legacy, they're still working on this one.
Yeah, Legacy actually a little bit late to the party. And it is going to be the Direwolves continuing to push up. This inner turret may actually take some, as we do see the bottom lane recalling. Alistair's going to move towards the bottom lane, and we'll see whether Regret can get there in time, as King and Carbon are going to be able to pick up the gold for that turret, and the Callista going to continue pushing. But this is already below half health with a big minion wave.
Yeah, they're actually really slow here, Legacy, and they put a lot of time in making sure the top turret fell, which means essentially all they'll get in their respective top lane is the tower to reset minions. They're actually behind a whole turret.
They're behind a whole turret and about 1,500 gold right now. The lane swap is really paying off for the Direwolves. They have a kill, they have 3 turrets, which is 1 more than Legacy right now.
And this is the ridiculous thing. This is Direwolves in a lane swap scenario. The team that we talk about wanting to skirmish, thriving in chaos, all of these sort of things have been thrown around about this side, but this has been all about strategic play and map movement from the team.
Well, to me, this is just their preparation coming into the best of 5. It was all about controlling that chaos instead of actually just breaking it out randomly. Save it. If that's where the team excels, get ahead through smart macro play. Legacy have been definitely starting to falter in that respect coming into this playoff series.
Well, we do have a tweet in from Ivy. Kuden, body them, Kuden. Justify my karma love. Hashtag I am OPL. Thanks very much, Ivy.
Can karma body people?
Damn right she can.
Have you seen a Karma?
Yeah.
They body everyone.
I was actually watching Rusty play Karma today, and I was very scared. Yeah, it's the only time you don't feel bad watching someone play Karma in the top lane is when they're playing against a Darius, which is worse to deal with.
Watching Rusty play anyone is actually kind of scary. Have you seen his AP Lucian?
I certainly have. We've mentioned that one on broadcast. Good times. As Sharp is going to take himself to Rift Herald and move towards the top lane. Actually going to get eat up by Kuden as Regret, actually waiting in the brush, decides instead just to vacate. Legacy going to move back underneath their inner turret.
Yeah, Carbon giving them the trophy. Of course, this is a sign that Legacy are trying to thwart any further advances the Direwolves are going to make. Of course, they're going to be down a member. Tally, he'll have to teleport in. But Direwolves with a Rift Herald and with the numbers advantage, looking strong here on this second turret.
That's right, 4 on 3, and this turret's already down to half health. In fact, using the smite to try and clear as many minions as possible. That Rift Herald is going to make them attack faster, but not as tanky as the Baroned up minions that you would see later in the game. They just chip it down to about half health. Tally is still in that bottom lane, but Direwolves still continue to push on.
Yeah, so this push is smart because Tally's kind of freezing it, and he can't stay there for long. If he continues to freeze that wave, then Direwolves will break the second turret. They'll find themselves 2 ahead, and all that Legacy actually get from this is a farm advantage for the Echo, which, to be fair, is quite big right now.
Yeah, of course, Tally has been where they've been putting a lot of their resources, especially historically, so giving him some room. Of course, scaling up, he does a lot of damage. We're not used to seeing the Echo on the top side of the map, but from the jungle doesn't get nearly as much money as the top lane variety, and we'll see whether he's going to be able to get to that stage where, you know, one use of that chrono break, it can change a team fight if he gets it in the right position. It does a heck of a lot of damage. And we'll see whether he is going to get to that point, because we're talking about, like Frosco mentioned it on the desk. This is going to be both of these sides at the best that we've seen them. And the best that we've seen Legacy was having basically a hive mind. So irrespective if they may have like fumbled a little bit of the lane swap here, falling behind a turret maybe early on, this is still Legacy and still a team that feels like they're attached in the brain.
I will say this isn't Legacy at their best right now because they're not playing standard well enough. They got ganked in the middle lane. That should not have happened. And this is actually effectively, to me, Direwolves playing better than they have been most of the split through their early laning phase. I'm going to call it more Sin-esque in the way that Direwolves are playing the map more effectively. Well, and this tower's in trouble.
It certainly is. Regret actually manages to get a knock up onto Sybil, but minions are going to tank up most of that damage. Barrel goes down, but that is just more damage on the turret. And Direwolves are just going to keep it here for as long as they can as Tally continues to try and farm and get bigger. 35-13. We mentioned this is a mismatch, but Sharp's on a Maokai. And it barely matters how much money he has. He'll still be a Maokai.
Yeah, and they're looking for level 6 on Maokai, essentially, and then he'll be happy. I will say, though, 41-15's biggest. Ooh, Regret's
yeah, Bates Cole's going to come in. Regret looking for the headbutt back, but Sharp! He gets knocked once again further back with the body slam, but he's going to die eventually as it's going to be picked up by Choo Choo's, evening the score, at least as far as kills.
Yeah, actually headbutted into a body slam, so there was
funny.
No escape for Sharp, to say the least. Of course, maybe not the most efficient combo, but it didn't really matter because, again, Sharp hasn't laned. He's just getting the scraps of Direwolves. And naturally, we are going to see how this happens, so headbutt and a body slam. It's just a lot of time where King can get stacks in him to rend the heck out of him.
Sharp did have that Rift Herald buff as well, so not going to be able to continue with that push up in the top lane, but did certainly get a lot of chip damage onto that turret. If we take a look back in towards the mid lane, Choo Choo's was the man that made that rotation up to make that play happen. He's still going to be farming it up. And that rejuve bead is finally gone from Fantix. Looks like he's decided to sell that.
Yeah, I actually think he thought it was a refillable potion. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I even said that
they
when he
look
bought
relatively similar, right?
I mean, they're both green.
Yeah.
And
Nailed
shaped like circles.
Well,
You know what? A part of that CS advantage that Fantix had is gone.
True.
The kill makes
180
up
gold
for
of it.
Yeah. Well, you sell it back, right? How much does it cost? So it's 90 gold is effectively what he...
Yeah,
Close enough.
2 potions. So, you know, not too much. But Fantix looking to actually steal away this blue buff if he can. Gets the movement speed from the Whimsy. There it is! Grabs himself a blue buff. Nicely played.
The level 9 Glitter Lance.
Oh, nice shoes there by Choo Choo's. So he's going to wander back to lane, but blue buffless. That could be a big deal here for the Azir. Doesn't quite get the Thunderlord's proc, but you can see definitely a lane bully.
It does look like Choo Choo's is going to try and pick up an Abyssal Scepter as well. So the 2 Doran's rings and his biscuits are all the mana regeneration he's going to get for now. Fantix will have that blue buff to be able to shove out this lane a little bit more. Legacy looking to try and take down Dragon, it seems.
Yeah, you got Fantix actually putting on a bit of pressure here in the mid lane. Of course, doesn't have the Ignite. It's a teleport for the Lulu, but they've got a ward on this Dragon. We'll see whether Sharp is going to potentially make a move. He's already down there towards the bottom side. And Sybil! Oh, tries to get in there. Doesn't actually get the hop over the wall.
They don't
He's
know
just
that.
going to say, never mind. I'll just wait it out. Does so just fine.
So they get the Dragon here, Legacy, which of course is big, as Devour was completed by Sybil. So denying those stacks
Yeah.
from the Direwolves jungler. You'll be happy about that if you were Legacy. And once again, Direwolves showing aggression.
That's right, there are 3 members in the mid lane trying to push for this mid lane outer turret. Legacy immediately throw 3 of their own men into that mid lane to defend that. Lots of chip damage down onto this turret. As Raze is going to stroll down from the top lane into the mid lane as well, pick up as much farm as he possibly can. The rest of Direwolves now deciding to head back home.
And I mean, we had some questions even coming into this series. Fantix, as a mid laner, he lost lane to Rymeister, which, not to call Rymeister a bad mid laner, it's more to say that Fantix doesn't lose lane.
No,
But
not to
he
anyone.
did, and that is the rarest thing that you'll ever see in OPL. Has come back after his couple of days off and displayed that he is the mid laner that we look towards, to call him what used to be perfection.
And that's exactly right. Of course, I notably called him one of the best players in the OPL. I believe my exact words were
turret's
best
in
player
trouble.
in the OPL. Just didn't quite work out in that particular series, and we'll see whether he's going to be able to prove it now. As Carbon's going to get slowed down by Cuden, snared up too, potentially, but Body Slam gets him to safety. Raze thinks that he can spell shield and auto attack, but unable to, as he's now very low. Sand Soldier's in amongst it, doing some work as Tally's looking to actually get in there, uses the dash, but in the end, the movement speed is going to prove too strong, and the Direwolves disengage nicely.
And minding that this is also a tank Echo, of course, has the Balmy Cinder as his first item. I would imagine goes the 40% CDR route on this Echo with the Frozen Fist and Spirit Visage.
We'll have to
surprises.
We'll have to check back in with the items later and see what he decides to pick up. At Legacy now, they're the ones that are trying to turn this push around. Looking to try and chip down this mid lane turret as much as possible, as everybody in this game is grouped up in the mid lane and pushing. Minions on both sides pushing for the side of Legacy though.
Yeah, of course, Legacy with a lot of minion control, meaning that they can set up for this siege. You can see 5 members strong still hanging around. Fantix with a fair bit of, I guess, wave clear. Should be able to deal with this as Civ is going to move back towards the mid lane, but Glitterlance not going to quite be enough, and this turret is going down very low. Tally just going to get out of there. Direwolves are at least going to keep their turret alive.
Yeah, Direwolves holding on for now, but Legacy also showing some signs of aggression, I guess. Back in the opposite direction. Still down a turret, so they've got options available to them. Question is, when will they start to attack them?
They're still putting a lot of pressure down into this mid lane. The only person that's not there for Legacy right now is Carbon, which is hiding behind his turret for now. Direwolves eventually do need to react to these side lanes that are pushing in. They do send Sharp down into the bottom lane. Does have his teleport available to join the team at any time. In fact, Direwolves have both their teleports up. One being on Sharp, one being on Fantix. But the top laner for Legacy, Tally, has headed up into the top lane. Going to continue that push for himself.
Meanwhile, the fact that Legacy did have to send Carbon home, unable to really utilize having Sharp move towards the bottom side, and Direwolves are going to be able to clear up their side lanes quite nicely. We'll see now that Carbon has made his way back, whether they're going to get enough damage down, but Cuden, there with the empowered Q, he's going to at least save the turret, but I mean, it's on a sliver of health.
It's a slow battle between these teams right now in regards to the middle lane. They've chipped away each other's turrets, but numbers advantages starting to form for Legacy, which is why you can see all of Direwolves have now hard grouped up. Of course, trying to stack the Devourer actually provides small advantages to Legacy if they keep their jungler mid. pressure down objectives and get the team gold. Whereas Sybil needs to be at least a little bit selfish with stacking the Devour up and doing some jungle camp. So interesting distribution of their efforts.
Yeah, Ray's also about to get that 350 gold from his cull that he managed to pick up earlier on. Also has a CS advantage. So despite the added assist for King, will probably be ahead by a fair bit as far as that gold is concerned for the Sivir, and is definitely important. Of course, you want to hit those 3 items if you can, and see whether he can get to it in time.
Not just Sivir that's ahead in gold. Dire will still lead in terms of gold against Legacy. Still 2,000 gold ahead of this team. They don't have a single dragon yet, which has gone on over to Legacy, but are still a single turret ahead. Legacy have been really trying to take down the mid lane outer turret first and to equalize that one back up. But their mid lane outer turret of their own is pretty low as well.
And speaking of mid lane, hot tip, Azir maxes W first. Second rather, opposed to the E, which I know doesn't make a lot of sense because the E does damage when you hit people. It gives you a shield as well to reduce the cooldown, I believe. But when you're not building cooldown reduction, you need more soldiers. As
Whoa,
Sybil.
There's the flash pulverizers. Regret getting right in
There's
amongst
a flank
it.
though from
Sybil,
Tally.
yeah, it's going to jump straight into a stun potentially, as he does actually manage to get some vision over the wall. And might be turning this one around. We'll see. Tally is going to get polymorphed. Not going to be found by the Glitterlance, though. And Direwolves with some sneaky plays, but not going to find too much.
Yeah,
Oh,
wow.
Raze, though, is going to get shielded up and sped by Cuden. And really nice patience there on the ultimate as the Boomerang's going to fly through. Carbon takes a lot of damage, especially now with only that jungle item there.
Raze biting back, I will say, though. Positionally, Legacy are looking to get these out of inner turrets in the bottom lane, which means mid is actually running a risk of going down.
They're doing a really good job of trying to get it, but look at this. Regret 9 now trying to jump in on towards the rest of Direwolves. Teleport is going to be coming back in from Tally.
Cancelled.
Actually cancels that one out. Still pushing in the bottom lane. He will be able to get this outer turret.
Yeah. Flash had to be used there by Sharp, though, who used his Twisted Advance, and then sort of there was an invisible cow after the Fate's Call. But Tally successful in gathering that turret. Now very low on mana as Fantix. Yeah, he's actually looking for more here as the Wild Growth is going to be used. Another slow comes down, but he is going to get out of there. Explosive Cast comes in. Sharp once again going to be taken down, and the Sun turret, it's going to help out. Choose, despite giving up first blood, has picked up every kill for Legacy, which is 2.
Which means, of course, Legacy, they broke the mid lane turret of Direwolves. They also broke the bottom lane turret, and Tally lived. They are now 1 turret up themselves, but still down a fair bit of gold, as of course, the second it went down, Sharp overstayed his welcome. Carbon, easy pickup and well done as hello.
Yep, Civil once again jumping over, but King with the Rend. Wanted to be able to use it, but not going to happen.
It wasn't going to kill him.
No.
Legacy were able to even that up for just a split second, it seemed. That play on the bottom side of the map and in the mid lane got them an even gold lead, but Direwolves still pick up another turret for themselves. Both the inner and outer turrets in the top and bottom lanes are now down for the Direwolves, so they have 4 turrets. Legacy equaled it up with the mid lane outer turret as well, and they do have 2 dragons to their name, so a really close game between these 2 teams.
And the cycle of the mid lane with wave clear continues. They will push and they won't get anywhere. Yeah, that's what he says, right?
Yeah.
Naturally, of course, Azir and Lulu being both of the mid laners, you'd think that no turret would fall down. This comes down to timing your pressure when you think you can be there, and when Legacy are pushing advantages, knowing that someone has gone to answer Tally. So it comes a lot down to having vision. I think most importantly speaking of, Direwolves have a lot of it to try and take this turret in response.
Yep, they are going to be able to do so as well, as the outer is going to fall. Direwolves pick that one up relatively easily, as Legacy were caught shopping. That being said, it is a Nash's Tooth that was picked up by Choo Choo's. Blade of the Ruined King now there for King. Building towards that Hurricane now with the Swiftness Boots already there. And you can see it's a lot of items already for Tally. As Sybil grabs himself the stacks. No cheeky Carbon's going to take those away.
How many marks was that?
18.
What? Marks.
Oh, sorry, I was looking at the Devourer. I don't care about marks.
Okay.
You can check those out. It's all about Devourer stacks, man.
18 marks. I was like, man.
That's huge.
That is a big Kindred if he has 18.
He's had like 7 Barons, man.
That's 100 marks. He's actually doing 100% of their health in damage. Every auto attack. No problem at all. No, I'm not sure. We will have to check back in.
Yeah. I think also the 2 kills that Choo's got, by the way, has evened out this mid lane. So The effective roaming, I'll say, of Legacy, and once again playing back to their team composition, which has a lot of strong displacement and skirmishing strength.
Yeah.
Has given time for Choose to wave clear mid even when he was behind and rotate top, which got him that first kill. Evens out mid lane, and then he picks up an easy second one.
Yeah, it's nicely done as Moramel Mortius is being built up now by Sybil. As we look over, Carbon already has that Aegis of the Legion. We'll see whether that is going to be Locket of the Iron Solari or whether it's going to head towards the Banner of Command, which would be a little bit exciting.
Damn.
Why, what were you excited
I was
about
hoping
there,
Tally
Aussie?
was going to steal the Krugs because there was a Sybil farming them there.
Would have been twice this game so far if he was able to do that.
If only.
Tally the Krug killer.
Well, you can see Legacy actually positioning themselves on the top side of the map, looking at that last remaining inner turret on a side lane. Try and pick themselves up some extra gold. Nice clearing of vision as Carbon is looking to steal away this blue buff. And you'd think with 4 people here, they are going to do so quite easily. As Sybil is going to get caught. There's another headbutt back as Regret really making some plays. The ultimate goes down, but Sybil has to flash back onto it. Shields for days, but King eventually picks it up with the Rend. What a skill to have after Lamb's Respite is now Fantix and Tally. They're going at it.
They definitely are.
Shields in there, but my gosh, is he tanky. Tally now with so much magic resist already, just spamming out these abilities under the turret still.
Wow.
He's trying to get it done, but not going to happen. And Fantix going to survive, but it's 1 pick there for Legacy.
So early escape from Tally, I will say, was very smart because pushing your luck against a Lulu is the #1 no-no of League of Legends. As Sharp once again taking some deeps.
Quite a lot of damage coming out from Legacy now, but they're not going to focus too much on this tree. Instead, trying to push out to take down the turret. My goodness, Tally being really aggressive down that bottom lane. As Choo-Choo's still looking for this turret.
So the game's accelerated a bit on Legacy's side. They have knowledge right now. Fantix doesn't have his ult, doesn't have flash. All they know is he has teleport. And at the moment, based off the track record of the past 2 minutes, Tally can kill Fantix, so he won't be split pushing, which means you can actually assume that Direwolves will be grouping with him as 4 members and having Sharp split. So opportunities, I will say, for Legacy, knowing that they have the advantage with summoner spells to catch people out.
Yep, Fantix, of course, just finishing off that Lich Bane, so might be a little bit better off, but we'll see what he can actually do as Tally very close to the Spirit Visage. Bunch of extra items for him. But, I mean, I'm looking at Choo-Choo's. I mean, he's got a needlessly large rod as well as his 2 core items now. We'll get very, very close to being at that sort of 3-item form as Azir with that Rylai's coming probably second up.
Yeah. And we spoke about the bottom lane of Legacy as well. Effectively neutralizing the difference between these two is a win for Legacy, because that also means mid is keeping up, and that's always expected of both Choose and Perfection, who have been performing well this entire split, especially coming into this. The top lane is still the major discrepancy that we have to talk about.
That's right. 50 CS up on Tally right now, and 2 deaths on Sharp, which does mean he is at an experience disadvantage. Tally has 2 levels on him 22 minutes into this game. He has the items to boot too. Iceborne Gauntlet picked up. Like Atlas mentioned, looking for that Spirit Visage. He has the Balmy Cinder too. So he's a huge echo.
Yeah, and the best thing is he wasn't 1v1ing. Like, he was never in a situation. Sharp has never been in a situation where he's going to fight Tally. They've just straight up played the map, essentially, with their top lane, or top half of the map, and gotten who they want to be ahead, miles ahead.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's delegation of resources right out of Legacy because they've managed to even out the mid lane. That's 10 CS. It means about nothing right now as Carbon going to body slam himself pretty aggressively onto the enemy side of the map. But look, you've even managed to even out King. King is now ahead by 8 farm on this Kalista. 1-0 and 2. Hit that 2-item power spike with the Renan's Hurricane and is looking very, very strong.
And Choo-Choo's actually had to burn his flash there in the middle lane as Legacy are looking to try and take down this dragon. It would be the 3rd dragon of the game and the 3rd dragon for Legacy as well. And this is going to go uncontested once again. Legacy able to control that dragon pit really effectively in this game.
Yeah, not only do they have 3 dragons, once again they've denied the stacks from Sybil.
Yeah,
and
that's the big deal.
Yeah, that's the other massive thing. Of course, 3 dragons in 24 minutes puts you well and truly on track towards the next one being at least a team fight, or at least a big emphasis from the Direwolves, so a predictable strategy in the next, well, in 6 minutes from now. But that's starting on the right page and then some, as a teleport from Sharp.
Yeah, but Legacy are going to disengage effectively. That's a massive Glitter Lance across 3 members, but Legacy able to get out.
That
I'm
was
just going to
a Sivir ult,
reposition.
though.
Yeah, exactly.
That also means that Tally has a lot of free time up in the side lane. Once again, he's still split pushing into top lane. It's going to be Fantix that meets him there, puts down the Glitterlust, trying to slow him down. Thunderlords will proc as well as Sharp. The big scary tree just running at him. But with all that pressure, Legacy are able to just take the mid lane turret for free. It's now 5-5 on turrets.
Send more than one person to the side lane. Tally's going to call it out. You're going to get free objectives. Azir, very good at taking down turrets.
And it almost looks like Direwolves had a fantastic early macro game moving everyone around the map. And now it's Legacy pivoting on Tally, so to speak, taking all these turrets.
Well, you can see Cuden actually going to stop Carbon's back here as he body slams his way to safety. Direwolves trying to take control of their own jungle.
I love those red lights to show them with the sweepers.
Yeah, no, it's real cool.
It's great. It's like red strobes.
But Direwolves actually think that they might have something here. Just going to try and grab themselves this Rift Scuttler. Sybil with some well-earned Devourer stacks.
29.
Yep, one more, and he will have that little puppy turned into a new one. Of course, I love
Straight
Devourer
to
on Kindred.
Raptors.
It just makes so much sense.
Well,
Wolf
because of
has
Lamb and
another wolf, yeah.
Unfortunately, one of them disappears at 30 stacks, so rest in peace to his current wolf.
The more jealous one.
One remaining.
Yeah, but you know, it's like he absorbs the wolf. She absorbs the wolf, sorry, you know.
And it becomes wolf and wolf.
Yeah, but then due to the fact that, you know, you get extra auto attacks, it feels like the wolf trying to escape. I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like thematically it makes sense.
Quickly bring it back to something
Yeah,
that I
let's do
do
that.
want to discuss, though, is Carbon's build path.
All right, do that.
So he's got Banner of Command. He's just completed it. He's just
Love
used it on a minion. And that, to me, is like, again, I said this at the start of the game, and I will continue to reiterate the fact. Legacy are trying to beat Direwolves essentially at their own game. So early game, they actually got out-rotated entirely. And they struggled. They fell behind a bit of gold. And then they just started to pressure them out with vision, do some more skirmishing style of play, and make small advantages. Of course, the aim of the game for Legacy right now is have numbers advantages by forcing people into side lanes. If Fantix is with Tally... Oh, hang on.
Yeah, Dial's actually looking for an engagement here, but the E's going to be used to get the Azir to safety. Regret might be slowed down, but just uses the ultimate in order to keep himself safe. And that is ultimates traded Siva for Alistair.
And once again, this comes back to Lulu having to be in the bottom lane. So Tally can cancel his teleport, and Tally's also going to be applying a lot of pressure. What this also means is that the two split pushes of Direwolves are magic damage. So how are they meant to kill a Banner of Command cannon? Look at the deeps.
But look at this. Tally doesn't care about this start. He wants to take down Fantix, forces him to pop his ultimate as well. Wild Growth has been used, and Tally's still going to continue to work on this turret. Pots down the displacement field to try and deter Fantix from continuing the aggression. Well, you're right. Kindred is rotating down from the jungle.
So
is that the red buff now? Gragas is right behind him. Going to be able to knock him straight into the wall. Might have to pop that Lancer Spy. Tally's going to pop the ultimate, get a lot of damage down to these Direwolves members as Sharp is trying to flank on towards Tally. Will be able to pick up a kill on him. And it's now Carbon that's in a lot of trouble as the rest of Legacy were able to take down Raze in the backlines. And now it's going to be Regret Knight jumping back in.
Yep, Sharp actually going to get ulted away there by Choose, but King able to take down Sybil already. Choose just walking through the Emperor's Divide. Sharp can't actually find him, and it is going to be an even trade in the end. Tally and Carbon for Raze and Sybil.
And at first, you were looking at Legacy's target selection and kind of questioning it because they lost their top laner very early. And saying that, you have to keep in mind that Raze was the man that King was definitely looking towards. You can see even the way they walk down on the minimap is Sharp's engaged, we mentioned it, 100% guaranteed to go in. Times it well with Tally trying to get away, but all of this time spent on Kuden almost backfired. And saying that King did work and is now 2-0-3.
King is 2-0-3, and the entire Legacy are 5-3 now. 2,000 gold ahead of Direwolves, so completely flipped that gold lead that Direwolves had at the start of the game. And they're looking really strong as we approach 29 minutes into the match. A minute until Dragon number 4 for Legacy would respawn. And you'd have to think that might be a point of contention for the Direwolves. They might want to fight over that objective before it's a little bit too late.
I'm going to take a stab here. I'm going to say it's Abyssal Scepter. Next item for Tally. But that to me would be like, I'm very curious if that's where he's going to go. Because they've already got one on the team.
Well, Fantix's going to get body slammed here. Was thinking about the auto attack and then said, no, Carbon, you're not worth my time. He's going to move back towards the mid lane, continue clearing out these minions. Direwolves haven't quite found the engagement that they've been looking for. And now Sharp behind by about 80 CS as Tally's just continuing this split push. And look, it's almost as if Legacy are like, okay, you can take your cluster teamfight comp and we'll just raise you taking down all of your turrets and never grouping up.
So they've actually, the way that they've set up their lanes here on Legacy's side and Direwolves, I will say is accurate and correct right now, but the inside track that Legacy have essentially to what is the Dragon Pit, which is up in 4 seconds, is noteworthy. They can catch potentially out of position here.
And they're looking to try and do that with 2 people up in the top lane. Regret9 going to get the double knock up onto Kuden. We'll be able to take him down. Sybil just has to watch as his helpless support gets absolutely destroyed. Meanwhile, in the top lane.
Yeah, Tally actually looking to 1v2 here as he does have the parallel convergence down. Gets the slow, looking to try and face up. There it is, over the edge.
My
Sybil's here as well. He's just going to turn the aggression on.
Tally!
Now trying to run away. It's not enough. He's so fast with that passive.
Oh, he dodged it.
And that is going to be enough. Out of the way of the Glitterlance and says, not even close. This is freaking Aladdin right now. That's all he's doing.
Literally just ran the gauntlet of death, every single member of Direwolves one at a time, and gets away with no health or mana, the perfect amount. Legacy pushing bottom.
Just like that, they've got 4 dragons, and now they're throwing Fantix back in the team. He gets absolutely melted as they're trying to collapse on the remaining members of the Direwolves. The ultimate's been popped by Kindred, but it might not be enough as 2 people have already fallen. They're looking to take down Sharp. He goes down. Tally is almost diving in towards the fountain, and Legacy are all over the Direwolves base. Sybil is going to go down.
Wow.
They're looking for the Nexus turrets. Legacy look to take game number 1.
Yeah, Tally, of course, teleporting in. You saw Direwolves trying to do what they could underneath their own turrets, but it's all about the Echo this game. The Nexus is going to fall. Game 1 for our first semi-final is going to go to Legacy. And after that start, who was expecting it?
Tell you what, that just exploded out of nowhere.
Ridiculous.
They find one advantage, and once again, that was baiting the 4th dragon. Very simple. Direwolves make a big mistake sending 5 people to go top lane and actually try and take out Tally. The Miracle Escape teleports back in and ends the game with his team.
And it was such a strong start from the Direwolves as well. They had a huge map rotation that got them so many turrets ahead. And Legacy, they just stayed calm and collected and fought back when they knew the time was right.
I will say, though, most importantly, it was just the decision-making of Legacy. I think Gragas, to me, was actually the big standout difference in what separated these 2 teams. Kindred's not hard engaged. Carbon says go. He makes sure that they go. Catches Fantix out and just, like, literally just bam, game's over.
Yeah, and the Dragon Denial was fantastic there as well. Sybil never really felt like he got to grab a whole bunch of those Devourer stacks, but ridiculous first game there from Legacy. We're going to throw it back to the desk for some further breakdown.
Thank you so much, guys. What a Game 1 performance out of both teams. Legacy, in the end, able to edge it out. And it did feel like a battle of early game versus late game execution because Direwolves got that game rolling in very good fashion.
So the lane swap was initiated by the Direwolves, which I really liked. I actually thought the composition on both sides were rather creative. I like the Sivir, Lulu, Karma, everyone runs fast. I expected that it would be a lane swap, not only because obviously they've been boot camping and trying to practice that, but this idea that Sivir does really well in a lane swap, Maokai does well, it read really telegraphed. They executed it brilliantly to a point, especially when Carbon was delayed on rotating up with his team and they actually had a tower advantage over the bottom side. The issue is when Legacy decided to hold the wave on the top side, when what's their name? Direwolves had the Rift Herald and they were pressuring forward. They should have taken the tower on 2 wave attempts, but they tried for the 3rd wave, and that's when you had the brilliant roam from Choose because Fantix wasn't able as Lulu to be pressured forward in the lane. The fact that Fantix just didn't hold Azir down cost Direwolves majorly.
And I want to talk about this because I actually think that this is a case of greed and Legacy reading it really well. Any other team dives mid lane. You push the first wave, you don't get the turret, you push the second. As soon as that second wave's gone, you disappear into the jungle. If Legacy follow you, you kill them in an uneven fight.
They're walking into
because they're walking into Fog of War. If they don't follow you, you kill the Azir because it's 5v1.
Yep.
Like, that is just, to me, a really greedy play from Legacy. They went for 2 turrets, they got none, they lost the game, and Legacy were able to execute. And you were talking about this pastry time, the idea that Legacy, if you make any, like, mistake around the map, they just jump on you.
Yeah, they're really good at punishing, especially when you give a player like Carbon a champion like Gragas. Like, we saw it time and time again in that game. You're kind of just asking for things to go badly. And yes, Legacy were quite greedy with how they executed parts of the early lane swap, and they did make some mistakes and lose some ground. But this is a team that as soon as they think they have an advantage in any sort of skirmish, they'll fight you. And more often than not, they'll win.
All right, and now there's a player that I actually really want to talk about because Legacy in their interview, Choo said they play a very telegraphed way. They give all their resources to Fantix. Well, I've got a news shock, but I think Legacy play a very telegraphed way, and they give all their resources into their top laner. Tally was 100 CS by the end of that game, and they froze a wave at like base turrets to get him that advantage. Is there a way to exploit this going into the next couple of games?
Specifically on Tally, it's just effectively looking for a counter matchup, which is weird because we had the Echo pickup, and we were talking about it upstairs. It's like, oh, it's a pseudo Poppy.
Yeah.
it chases really
Does a
far.
lot of damage, it's really tanky.
It's hard to nail down. It
Yeah.
farms really well. It pushes.
It's annoying, yeah.
CC, like it's the poor man's Poppy.
Yeah, which is weird because I think Poppy was open and they decided not to take it. But Tally,
No,
he
you're
did
right.
do
No,
a lot
it was
of,
banned by
Oh, well,
Legacy.
that would make sense. So
Yeah.
there you go. That's why they did a poor man's Poppy, which I guess would make sense with, to Tally's credit, he did a lot with the gold. I think if you're going to shut Tally down, you probably need standard lanes. But you're always worrying. The worry then is that, okay, now you have to fight the Carbon Tally 2v2, and I'm not sure the Sybil Sharp 2v2s may be up to the task.
And that's something that I really want to underline is, and we've talked about this before, the series going into this, like Legacy wants standard lanes. That's how they win the game. They're very strong in it. And Direwolves, I think the best case scenario for them is to continue to lane swap. And it was so close, but just not quite there, simply on a single mistake, holding the wave too long.
Well, just not quite there means that Legacy do take game number 1 in pretty emphatic fashion in the meanwhile. But we do have a couple more games coming your way, guys, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 3.5.